Welcome back to another episode of the CarterKast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. With me, as always, Dylan, Ben, Connor. We are back. NFL Week 2 preview. If you didn't tune in to the College Football Week 3 preview, go check that out. That was a great episode. We went over an hour on that one for a weaker college football slate. That was a fun episode. Make sure to go check that out. Subscribe on the YouTube. Before we get into today's episode, we are brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterKast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions apply. Use code KarterKast at SeatGeek on your first purchase. SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterKast. $20 off. Dylan.
No. Nothing today.
Yeah, I didn't. I knew you didn't have it.
No. Actually, I did. Yeah, I
Don't
went
even.
to SeatGeek code KarterKast. Went to the debate, right? Went to the debate because
studio audience.
Because the audience was there, and I was the lone person in there, and I used SeatGeek code KarterKast. It was great, $20 off.
Quantity one. Nice. All right, let's get into NFL previews today. Let's just roll right into some of these games. There's a lot of games we want to talk about this week, and let's start off Thursday night, Bills-Dolphins. Dolphins are a 2.5-point favorite in Miami on Thursday night. We're finally getting good Thursday night games all of a sudden. We're year after year, it's, the crappy Jets versus the crappy Jaguars. Hello, Panthers. You're a Thursday night darling. We're going to get Panthers-Giants. Instead, that game got moved to Germany. Anyhow, Bills-Dolphins. Dolphins minus 2.5. I'll start with you, Dylan.
Yeah, I want to say this first. The first Thursday night game of the week, I didn't do my research on where the game was going to be aired. I don't know if anybody else shares this.
Brian.
I was a little last week with the Ravens Chiefs. I was on Prime. I was like, where's the game? I want Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit on my TV. Was anybody else a little sad? No,
because we all know it's Chris Collinsworth and Tariqa. We all know it's an NBC game.
All the first Thursday night game, it's not Thursday night, it's Sunday night. It's the first Sunday night.
Yeah, it's a Sunday night game technically.
Yeah.
My mind's in a pretzel. Because of the cast that we have announcing it.
Yeah. NBC.
You're like I should be on Prime Video. The Jags should be wearing mustard uniforms against like the powder blue Titans. Color Rush. Like it's 2016 again, you know.
It felt wrong. Like it was Thursday night. I felt like I needed to be seeing Marshawn Lynch with that big old control board, and he like pulls the handle, and the intros where it's like the cartoon thing. But anyway, I was sad we didn't get Kirky and Al Michaels on that call. But anyway, first Thursday night game. One of the issues, and I've complained about this for the past 3 weeks, is when you try to form an opinion, it's like you have 1 week, right? You can't use last year's stats because a lot of these rosters have either flipped over. There's some differences. Looking at the Bills from last week, we know the Cardinals defense is bad. So it's like, how much credence do you put into the Bills offense being that good? I think Josh Allen was probably the top performing quarterback, maybe not in the air, but 4 total touchdowns. He did have that fumble. And then you look at the Dolphins, who brought it, it went down to the wire. They kicked the game winning field goal against the Jags. Over 100 penalty yards. That's a little concerning, but Tua did lead the day in pass yards. So I kind of see why the Dolphins are the favorite here. Obviously, divisional game at home. That's huge. I lean the Bills. I just think Josh Allen gets it done. Again, the numbers might be inflated because of that bad Cardinals defense, and I do have some questions about I have questions about the Bills defense because I don't think the Cardinals offense is going to be that great. So I lean the Bills here, divisional underdog. Not going to take anything, but this is a great Thursday night game to get things started.
Connor.
I think this is all Bills. I think if you look at week 1, the Jaguars blew that game against Miami. Travis Etienne had the ball on the goal line, fumbled it out of bounds. That would have made it 24-7. All of a sudden, the very next play, Tyreek Hill, 80-yard touchdown bomb. Like, that was the momentum-swinging, game-changing play right there. If Etienne holds onto the ball and Jacksonville punches it in, goes up three possessions, that's game right there. They walk out of Miami with a W. So for Jacksonville to blow that was a little disheartening. I think it's all Bills here. You look at that Bills-Cardinals game, there's a lot of variance plays. The Cardinals had that dynamic kickoff return for a touchdown. That's probably not going to happen again. There was a couple long penalties on Buffalo that bailed Arizona out early that led to their touchdowns. I just think Josh Allen has adjusted well to this new receiving core already in their first regular season game together, and I don't trust this Dolphins team. I'm not going to say they're on fraud watch like we were bashing them last year, but I think after they squeaked out a win in week 1 they didn't really deserve against the Jaguars team that really lost the game more than Miami won it. So I like Buffalo here, especially as an underdog. I know it's in Miami. I still think Josh Allen, even with the hand banged up a little bit, I think he'll be fine. So I like Buffalo here in week 2.
Ben.
Cool. Yeah. No, like kind of we were talking about in the AFC East preview, like we had a lot of questions about the Bills. I think the Dolphins, it's like we know what they are. We know that they're like a team that can maybe like win a game in the playoffs. Probably isn't going to go much further than that. Like we know what the Dolphins are. The Bills, I think, came into this season with a lot more question marks. I came away from this week 1 game feeling like the Bills answered a lot of those questions. They just looked the part. Josh Allen looked the part after being a little shaky at times last year, although the stats don't really reflect it. He just looked a little off last year. He looks comfortable this year. He looks confident this year. I agree that Bills-Cardinals game wasn't as close as it looked or it appeared on paper that the score would indicate. I also think that Miami at home is usually a great home field advantage. It's been talked about with a lot of players. They're like, damn, it's 1 p.m. on a Sunday in September where like the heat is on the visiting sideline, whereas like the Dolphins are like in the shade. They're like, we're baking out here. Like, this is bad. This is bad. But with it being a Thursday night game, I don't think that definitely doesn't exist as much, along with the fact that it's not like Miami's known for having like a crazy crowd. I think that plays a factor in here too. I think the Bills are the better team. I think the Bills are the best team in this division, and I think they win this game.
Already out.
Already flip flopping. I'm getting called Kamal Karter.
No,
Meanwhile,
I was already kind of like, I guess like Dolphins 55, Bills 45 kind of thing. The Jets, we'll get to them, but who cares about them? But yeah, no, I'm thinking the Bills are the best team in this division. I feel like they answered a lot of questions that we had about them. We're like, are they going to look really bad? And although the score made it seem like they did, they really weren't. Like they looked more comfortable. They looked more like a Bills team from pre-Damar Hamlin injury, which frankly, like, that's kind of what we're talking about is like pre-Damar Hamlin injury, post-Damar Hamlin injury. Those are two different Bills teams. They looked like the pre-Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, I have concerns about the Bills defense though. In this game, this could end up being a shootout and being played. This is going to look like a Big 12 football game played in the 30s. It feels like, because Kyler, especially in that first half, second half a little bit different story. Kyler in that first half was having his way with the Bills. Everything was open. He was able to scramble and get out of the pocket. Now that's not going to happen with Tua in this game, but he's thrown to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I had problems with the Bills secondary in that game. Also, you mentioned it, Connor. Those long penalties just killed them. We're killing the Cardinals. So I am not as Josh Allen in that Cardinals game put them on his shoulders. He carried them through that game, whether it's through on the ground or making ridiculous plays. I think the score was pretty fair in that Cardinals Bills game when you were watching it.
I
watched that entire game. It feels like it could have been
2 possessions. It feels like it could have been 2 possessions, especially in the second half.
It's the second half for sure. You're right. It was the Bills dominated more in that second half. But that first half, it was not pretty from Buffalo in no way. So I guess it takes a little time to gel. This one's tough because it's just a divisional game. I don't feel strongly either side on this one, but I agree with you guys. I would go Bills solely because of Josh Allen in this game. Go ahead.
Well, I'm planting my flag on the grounds that Josh Allen is still the second best quarterback in the league. And on a Thursday night game, on a short week, you know what you need? You need a guy on your team that's the quarterback that can be a leader and take over an offense. And if he needs to run 3 touchdowns in and carry the ball 15 times, he is built to do that, even on a short week.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it impossible for the Bills to have a star running back? It doesn't matter how high they draft. It doesn't matter what their name is. I feel like it's impossible for them to have a star running back.
They're destined to have like Devin Singletary and all his clones. like that just feels right.
James Cook.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say Devin Singletary's on the Giants. It's like no, he's still on the Bills.
He's still on the Bills. Same
in his heart. He's still on the Bills.
I feel like every Bills third down back, you're like, he's better than the starter.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, Ty Johnson making some noise last year.
I feel like it's
the second running back should always be the first in your mind. Yeah,
that's a good question.
Yeah, so no one's here. No one's on the Dolphins here.
Can't do it.
Wow.
Dylan Watson.
I'm in the camp of being like, I don't feel super strongly. Like, if the Dolphins win this, I feel strongly there's going to be a lot of points in this game, like Karter said, like a Big 12 shootout. But
48
and I lean. Ooh,
It was 51.
Oh.
yeah, I like the over. I like the over still, but like, I could see the Dolphins winning by one possession. I could see the Bills winning by one possession. I tend to favor Josh Allen in this spot, but you're not going to see me shocked if the Dolphins win by a field goal.
Dylan, will you say that the Dolphins won't score more than 10 points?
Can you show your face?
No, I can't. I can't say that. Not. It doesn't mean as much in the NFL. I feel like that happens kind of frequently. If I say a team isn't going to score 10 points,
Panthers scored 10 points. Just putting that out there, Big 10
Bryce
points.
Young, MVP,
Yeah,
comeback player of the year.
That's what they're saying in the streets.
Yeah.
So we're going to preview the best games, and then we'll roll into some tier 2, tier 3 games. Let's talk about, I think this is the best game of the week. It's Bengals-Chiefs. We all know Joe Burrow owns the Chiefs for some reason. He wins all the time against Pat Mahomes. The only quarterback, maybe him and Jared Goff. Bengals at Chiefs in Arrowhead. Chiefs are a 5.5-point favorite in week 2 right now. I know we always say beware of the Chiefs when they're more than a field goal favorite. Weird things happen. Is that still true here, Dylan?
We have so many unstoppable force meeting immovable object type scenarios here. And I think the first one is Joe Burrow early in the season. Historically, he has not played that great. But we also have the fact that Joe Burrow is one of the only quarterbacks that has consistently beaten this Chiefs team, whether it's the regular season, whether it's the playoffs. They did not look great. They did not look great against the Patriots, and that's a huge cause for concern. Now, do we just chalk that up to early in the season Joe Burrow? And then you have the thing about the Chiefs being more than a field goal favorite. This is never a great spot for them. They always, whatever it is, they seem to let off the gas. They seem to take it easy. Mm-hmm. With a team like the Bengals, though, I don't know if they're going to take it easy. And that's kind of what I'm dealing with here. My heart of hearts, I think Joe Burrow pulls it out. We've just seen it time and time again. 27-24 seems like a right score. I feel like we've had that so many times when these teams have met. But Kansas City they have a long week. They had extra time to prepare. I have to go Bengals just because of what I've seen in the past, but I can't say I feel super confident about it because, like we've said, Joe Burrow has started out slow. But there are just too many things going against the Chiefs historically against this Bengals team for me to be bought in on the Chiefs.
Connor.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. The Bengals obviously were bad against New England. I think they probably killed 90% of survival pick'em pools, or survivor pick'em pools.
All three of mine.
Did you really? You had them in all three?
Bengals in all three, yeah. Poor strategy.
That's brutal. Yeah, so they look bad. T. Higgins was out, obviously. Jamar Chase held out to the last second. Chiefs massive win versus Baltimore. I think this is, I don't want to call it a letdown spot, but this is a spot where the public is like, oh my God, the Chiefs looked amazing. They pulled out against Baltimore. Look how fast Xavier Worthy is. Look how good Mahomes is. Look how bad the Bengals were. Why is this less than a touchdown? 6 points for Joe Burrow against Kansas City is too many points. For a guy that's 3-1 against the Chiefs, averaging over 300 yards passing against them, he's one of the only guys that's been able to beat Mahomes. And I know it's the regular season. I know it's week 2. I know there's a lot of weapons missing on Cincinnati. I don't care. 6 is too many points for two teams that I think are closer in skill than people realize this year. I'm still not selling my Bengals stock. I think they're going to figure it out. I think this is a primetime game where people are like, oh, this isn't enough points. Like the Chiefs are going to blow them out. Look at Xavier Worthy and all the fast weapons. But the Bengals keep it close. So I like the Bengals to cover here.
I think they keep it close too. I understand that Patriots game looked terrible, and obviously you can just pinpoint to that. But every Bengals week 1 opener with Joe Burrow has been terrible.
Yeah.
I understand the Chiefs look so good. Xavier Worthy, like you mentioned, looks fantastic, but 6 is a lot of points. Six points is a lot of points in this Chiefs game. Chiefs early in the regular season. These games have no rhyme or reason to them. I feel like you can throw the stats out the window. It's just quarterback play. Let's see what happens. See what happens. And I think Dylan nailed it. I think this is a 24-21 game, Chiefs.
I don't even know if it's quarterback play, though. Like, we've seen this Bengals rush defense was so bad last year, and we saw they let Ramondre Stevenson run for like 125 yards. And Stevenson's a fine back, but he's not, top tier talent. Pacheco could have a huge game here, and if the Chiefs just want to play time of possession, I think that is very much in their cards. Now, that would go to help the Bengals because it keeps them from blowing it wide open in terms of the spread, but yeah, I mean, this run defense from Cincinnati is not great. They didn't do much to improve it, and that's a huge concern. But that still does kind of help the Bengals keeping it close. They're not going to let Mahomes blow it up.
All I'm hearing is Isaiah Pacheco anytime touchdown.
I'm banned from anytime touchdown scores. The worst bets that I've ever had to root for is anytime touchdown scores.
Well,
off of
Dylan, you bet on backups and third stringers that get like 10 snaps a game.
True.
So,
off of it. Well, I don't want to go minus 150 on Derrick Henry. What do you want me to do?
Or like a fullback.
Or like plus 110 on Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, him and Derrick Henry were free money on Thursday. Paid for
not doing
free
it.
Money.
Banned.
Free
Banned.
money. Ben,
Reading
thoughts
the
on this
dogs.
game?
I'm also on the Bengals here, especially the number. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say the Bengals win this game. I do think that, weirdly enough, in the NFL, I think there's some teams that can turn it on when they need to in a big spot. They recognize the moment and they turn it on. And I think those teams, the ones that can turn it on, are the ones that have the weapons and the quarterback. Teams like the Chiefs, like we saw last year, like the Bengals do after they sleepwalk through the first few weeks of the season. The Bills that existed at the end of last year too, they looked a lot better. I think this is one of those spots where I think we remember that Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback. I'm seeing a little bit of not saying a lot, but like a little bit of Joe Burrow hate on my timeline a little bit. I think this is one of those like reminders, especially after this last week where we're talking, Pat Mahomes, like the Chiefs, they're running for a 3-peat. I think this is a moment in which Joe Burrow and the Bengals are like not like in Lee Corso, not so fast.
I want to bring up something real quick. Did anybody see the clip of Joe Burrow messing around with his wrist on Twitter? Like kind of going like this to his side. Didn't we talk about last year how wasn't this like a super experimental surgery, or am I just completely making stuff up?
There was like a thing where it was like if it didn't go successfully, he could have like lost mobility in his wrist or something like that. Like it was like a big thing that nobody talked about over the summer.
That might be something worth monitoring too, is because I saw that clip. He was like just kind of down by his side. You can't see it because of the camera angle right now, but he was just kind of flexing that wrist around like something was still bothering him. So maybe something to watch. That could be a point of concern because I remember we talked about that last year. I still think Bengals.
And if he doesn't look healthy in this game, then this is going to be a very, very long season for the Bengals. I'm not saying this is a must-win for the Bengals by any means.
We say that, but they went 9-8 with Browning last year.
True. But
now, granted, I think the defense still wasn't great, but I mean, even with a backup that wasn't spectacular, they still managed to somehow go over 500.
Yeah, and I don't think the defense is great, and I think you're going against the 3 best defenses in the AFC in this division.
Yeah,
I mean, you got the Browns, the Steelers, and the Ravens. And you got to play them 6 times overall.
Ravens. We'll put a little question mark
for
there,
a backup
but
quarterback,
possibly.
Backup quarterback. There's a question mark on the Ravens defense. That offensive line. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But anyhow, let's talk about Bears-Texans. Games in Houston, Sunday Night Football. Texans are a 6.5-point favorite against this media darling Bears team. Dylan, I know you have thoughts on this one.
100%.
You're anti both of these teams.
So we have talked about being so early in the year, you can't really point to data, but this is an opportunity to sell on a team that won their week 1 game. And if you watch anything on social media, you watch a show, like the Bears offense was anemic, and somehow they beat the Titans 24-17. And when I say somehow,
I think I know why I think I know why. It's not somehow. It's because Will Levis sucked in that game.
He made some.
Will Levis single-handedly lost them that game, and you know it.
What?
Did you see Brian Callahan come out and say if we would have punted every 1st and 10, we probably would have won the game? That's not great. Not great.
No, that's Big Ten football.
But I think that goes to speak more to how the Bears won. Like if we kept our defense on the field, and
because Will Levis.
I don't think it's that. I am not concerned about Will Levis.
Watch the game.
I watched the whole game, Carter. I watched from the start to the finish, from the
Dylan,
pick
if
six
that was
to,
imagine if Caleb Williams had that same turnover Will Levis had. That was the worst. That's the worst play of the NFL season. That's the worst play we will see all season. That's terrible. That was terrible. That was a game ender. That lost you guys the game single-handedly.
Danny Jones. Danny Jones-esque.
I feel like we're having two different conversations here. I'm not denying that Will Levis made bad decisions. He made awful decisions, but I
want it known that Will Levis was bad.
He did that twice, right? One was a pick six. One I think he ended up getting away with. This week, this isn't about the Titans. I'm sorry.
Bears, Texans.
Bears. We saw the Bears could not move the ball on offense. And is the Titans defense that great? No. I think they're probably middle of the pack this year. This is every opportunity to fade the Bears. They had so many things go their way last week that is not going to go their way. I'm getting remnant feelings of the Eagles, if you want me to be honest, from last year. This is a great situation to be in. The Texans, hand up. I didn't get to watch much of the Texans-Colts game, but I saw a couple throws to Nico Collins. I was impressed. Awesome time to fade the Bears. I think a lot of people that maybe don't want to add context to that win will go out and bet the Bears like, oh, they beat the Titans by 7. They had this great comeback. Why are they 6.5-point underdog? Give me the Texans all day. Big favorite. I hate it, but there's nothing offensively to get excited about with this Bears team at all.
What scares me in this spot for the Bears, too, is that last week I thought, and it could be week 1. It could be, rookie in his first game. NFL's very different. But the Titans secondary is not great. They're not an elite unit by any means. That Titans defense is typically probably their weakest unit as of the second half of last season. So you thought, okay, Caleb Williams should have some success. He was arguably the worst quarterback in football last week with 93 passing yards.
Carter, they don't want us talking about this. They don't want us. He missed some open guys. I mean, he missed some short throws.
And that's the other problem was he doesn't normally miss those throws, which makes me concerned. Or it's just, that was one bad game. We'll find out as the season goes on. That's why it's hard to tell in these games early on. But the Texans secondary, we talk about them being Swiss cheese, and they're an easy secondary. I mean, Anthony Richardson he had 9 completions for over 200 yards. Are you kidding me? The deep shots are going to be there in this game for Caleb Williams to DJ Moore. But is he able to make those throws? If we're going off week 1, I'm very, very concerned about Caleb Williams in this spot, especially Sunday Night Football. It's going to be prime time. The world's going to be watching. I agree with you, Dylan. Connor.
Let me preface this by saying I think Caleb Williams will be a fine starting quarterback in this league eventually. I don't think this week 2 game, a standalone primetime game against the Texans, is the time it's going to happen. That Bears offense, like you mentioned, Dylan, in week 1, horrible. The Titans gifted them that game. Bears last in passing yards. Caleb Williams had less than 100, 31st in first downs, bottom 4 in red zone and third down efficiency. I mean, I can go through all the numbers here. It was really bad. Texans, meanwhile, not bad. Like Stephon Diggs slid right in, 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon had led the league in rushing week 1, 160 yards on the ground. I feel better about this Texans offense than I did coming into the year. And another thing is, if you're Caleb Williams, if he would have torched the Titans and gotten off to a hot start and made some throws and made some plays and scored some points, I would have felt better about this. I would have been like, oh, he got his sea legs under him. He got a feel for the game. Now there's a chance to go out and maybe raise the floor of this Bears team against the Texans team. Instead, he had a dud performance, hasn't figured it out yet. I don't think his first great performance in the NFL is going to be this standalone primetime game against CJ Stroud and the Texans. So I love Texans by a touchdown here. 6.5 is a gift. I think the Bears offense will eventually be good once they figure it out, but it's not going to be this week. Caleb Williams will not have a good week this week.
Wow, Ben.
Yeah, no, I'm also on the Texans in the number here. I don't like this Bears team really that much. I think they'll still flash at times because of Caleb Williams. I think the talent is absolutely there. I think they've got the playmakers. But I do feel like I have to bang the drum. You know that SpongeBob, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? DeAndre Swift is not good. He never has been good. He's not good. He's not good.
The idea of him is good, Ben.
The idea of him is good. You're like, that guy is fast sometimes.
He can catch some balls.
Yeah. You're like, ooh, DeAndre Swift. But you're like, he's not good. He's injury prone. He has a poor vision. He's not seeing holes that are opening up. That existed with the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
Yeah,
With
that's
like
fair.
the two best O-lines. He has played behind the two best O-lines like in football, and both of those teams said, "Nah, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
That's a great-
We'll
that's a
move
great
off
point.
you. We'll go get someone else. We'll go get, Saquon Barkley." I mean, to be fair, that's like, of course you take Saquon Barkley, but like still, like Lions are like, we'll take a rookie running back who was a
David
day one
Montgomery.
upgrade. Yes, David Montgomery, and then going Jahmyr Gibbs, who is the DeAndre Swift type back, whereas Jamal Williams was more David Montgomery. But I digress. I like the Bears defense. I still like Caleb Williams long term. I think there's just going to be bumps in the road there. Obviously, like the receivers, Rome Odunze, he's questionable, but like they gave him an MRI yesterday. Whenever you're getting like an MRI and then it's like questionable, like I kind of feel like you're not playing. I think that matters. I think the Texans are just for real, especially offensively. Not to say that I didn't think they were real or that I had doubts, but whenever you see a rookie quarterback just pop off like that, especially a rookie quarterback that wasn't like, I guess, we didn't all expect CJ Stroud to be like a top 10 quarterback day one. So I think it was like, I think it was nice. I think it was nice to like be reminded or get that confirmation. Okay, this is real. Not to say that I thought it wasn't, but I don't know if you know what I mean. Like to see it carry over into a second season. I like the Texans by a lot here. I think the defense tries to keep them in the game, but I think it's a higher scoring game, but I think the Texans win by a couple scores.
I don't know if the defense. I mean, they were great in coverage last week, but I don't know. Pollard. I mean, old guy.
I was going to say,
not
if
super
Tony
old,
Pollard
That's
rushes
fair.
for 86 yards, if Tony Pollard rushes for 86 yards in 2024, there's something maybe wrong with your defense. And now they're facing Joe Mixon, who just put up 160.
Yeah.
Like
No, that's fair.
That is not
That's
great.
fair.
That's my biggest problem in this game is CJ Stroud might throw for 400 yards and Joe Mixon might run for 200. I don't believe in this Bears defense either. And I don't like agreeing on everything, but I'm not going to lie to people. I think the Texans win by double digits in this game. I do. If Caleb Williams has to be able to throw accurate passes. It's that simple. It's black and white. It's vanilla analysis, but he's got to be able to make those throws. It's very, very simple. Guys were open on Sunday. You got to be able to make those throws. And also, how many more weeks do we have of healthy Keenan Allen? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, he was already limping in that game.
I was going to say about Keenan Allen too, like, does this feel like, I know he's like put on a lot of weight. I don't know how much of that's good weight or not good weight. Like, does he kind of drop off a cliff?
I don't know.
Like, is that on the table? I think that's on the table. And we talk about the defense. Like, I was a little less concerned with the defense, but that shows you how many concerns there are. You guys are very concerned about the defense. I'm more concerned about the O-line and run game. I just don't think they even have, like, on defense, they at least have guys. The offensive line and the run game, I'm like, I just don't think at any point this season that's going to be there.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
So
when you're
that
rookie
shows you
quarterback-
it's like Caleb Williams and some good receivers, one of which is already hurt and the other might have dropped off a cliff. We don't know yet. It's unfair to say Keenan Allen has, but like he seems like a candidate for that. So it's just like Caleb Williams, like rookie quarterback, a few nice toys to play with, weapons, and that's it. Really.
Well, when you're a rookie
and some
quarterback,
talent
you
on
need a good-
defense.
You need a good run game to lean on. Like when you're a rookie quarterback, like having that solid run game behind you, having that other, that other level, that other phase of your offense to lean back on, that's such a luxury. And with DeAndre Swift in this O-line, the Bears are going to be a pass-happy offense. And for somebody playing in their first ever NFL games, I don't know if that's good for Caleb Williams. I really don't. I don't know. I think, especially with them on primetime this week, they played the Titans last week. Not a lot of eyes were on that game, if we're being honest. Like week one, everybody was all hyped up about the NFL starting back, whatever. This will be the week if Caleb Williams has a dud performance where the national media narrative is like, wait a second, should he have been the number one pick? And it's going to be way too early. It's not going to be warranted. It's way, too many question marks still. But the national media will be like, Caleb Williams, this 2 dud performances in a row. Like, let's go look at some of the tape. Like, what are we doing here? I can't wait to see how they spin it. Yeah,
I think that's a great point. And going off that too is there was so much bad quarterback play in week one. I'm not allowing myself to overreact on any player. No player
Fair.
I'm allowed, because week 1 was so bad across the board for quarterback play. I mean, Joe Burrow was one of the worst quarterbacks. Caleb Williams was terrible. Few of these quarterbacks are going to flip the switch week 2, and it's going to click. And I feel like we're going to get burned on one of these guys, whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's Joe Burrow, whether it's Kirk Cousins.
Right.
One of these guys is going to. They're not all of these quarterbacks are that bad. I mean, that was the lowest amount of passing yards in week 1 history, wasn't it? It was terrible. At least
180 some passing yards per team.
I've got
Something
the
crazy.
numbers. If that keeps up, which I don't think it will, that would be on pace to be the fewest passing yards sorry, let me rephrase that. This would be on pace to be the fewest passing yards per game since 1992, when it was below 190. So, I don't think it's going to stay at 188 per week. I think there's a lot of varying factors. We can get into this larger conversation later in the episode if you want to. But it's a little concerning. I'm not going to lie. The quarterback play, there's a lot of different factors playing in here. I'd love to dig into it.
How much of that's no preseason?
I think, these quarterbacks have started not playing preseason at all now. I think that is a fair point, especially in these early games.
Oh, it totally is. I think defenses are ahead of offenses when they're both rusty. And I think we're seeing rusty quarterbacks, rusty offenses.
You watch these training camp videos, I mean, sometimes it doesn't even feel like these guys are going 100% speed ever, and they're not getting tackled in training camp because they want to avoid injury. So I feel like it takes a couple weeks to get your feet wet in this league right now with no preseason play. But
and think about Josh Allen. He was one of the top performing quarterbacks. He plays in the preseason. I'm pretty sure he at least took a few snaps every game.
You know who else plays in the preseason?
The Niners.
Pat Mahomes. Andy Reid's a big believer in the preseason.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked fantastic.
And I just want to say real quick before we move on, 180 passing yards per team, per game, or whatever. I'm counting that as a bowl win for the Big Ten. Just once we get to that season, that's a bowl win.
That's fair. Sure. I agree with you there.
Yeah. Big Ten football in the NFL.
Yeah. Falcons, Eagles, real quick. We'll go very briefly on this game because we'll touch on it more on the Sunday night recap show. The Eagles are a 6.5 point favorite. The quick question I have for you guys here is, are we overreacting on the Falcons, or is Kirk Cousins not going to get back to his former self?
I don't mind. Dylan, you want to go first?
Connor, you said you had something for it. I'll let you take the reins here.
If you watch that game, Kirk Cousins, it might be time to push the panic button. He didn't look comfortable. And it's not that if he would have come out and had a dud performance and thrown a couple picks and, wasn't accurate, fine. It's the way he looked. It's the way he moved around. It's the way he wasn't confident in putting pressure on that Achilles running around outside the pocket. Not that he did that anyways, but even stepping up, moving around inside the pocket, he had no trust on that, no planting on that. That's scary as a Falcons fan. And, I know Michael Penix is waiting in the wings, waiting to be put in. I just think Kirk Cousins maybe needs a few more weeks. He got hurt, 6-7 weeks after Aaron Rodgers did last week? He just doesn't look fully healthy. And if he's not fully healthy, this Falcons offense is going nowhere.
And he was in the same camp as Deshaun, Bryce, Caleb Williams, and these guys. He couldn't make an accurate throw. All of his throws were off. And you're talking about Kirk Cousins. He's one of the most accurate passers in this league. And those interceptions were inexcusable. Sorry, Dylan. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I think my concern isn't even with his injury. It's if you watch any of the footage or the all-22, not only was he cautious, guys, he was telegraphing passes, and he was not looking after his first read. It was first read. If it wasn't there, he was either throwing it anyway or throwing it away. It was definitely a cause for concern. Maybe it's because he hasn't had that live action yet, like we talked about, but he has always been a cautious quarterback, especially when it comes to the pocket collapsing. He's not one to extend plays, and he took that cautiousness a step further last week. Now, and I will give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I think this Pittsburgh Steelers defense is great. It's going to be tough for a lot of quarterbacks to move the ball, but there also wasn't anything we saw from Kirk Cousins that makes me optimistic about this matchup against the Eagles.
Okay. Then are we overreacting on Kirk?
I think I'm going to be the one who kind of goes, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're talking about a guy who is coming off an Achilles injury. Maybe is he cooked after that? You know what? Maybe. But I'm not going to draw that conclusion off of
the problem
Sunday.
with Kirk Cousins is if he wants to come back from this Achilles injury, he's got to enact that Mamba mentality. He's got to be bought it.
I thought there was a real point going on.
I was like,
I did too.
I was waiting on it. I was like, oh, Dr. Karter.
Anyway, like I think that combined, like I think you've got the Achilles issue combined with another guy who just like hasn't played football in a while.
Yeah.
And we've seen quarterbacks who have not played football since last year don't look as good. And so I take those two things into consideration. I'm going to give it a few weeks before I push the panic button. I'm not saying that there isn't reason for concern, but I'm not going to go full blown like, I think he might be cooked. I think he might be done. I think the Falcons might be screwed. Like, I'm not quite there with it. I want to give it a few more weeks to unfold because I think it's partially injury, but partially you're seeing other quarterbacks in the league not look fully as comfortable. Good ones, in fact, too, that just haven't played football in a while. And Kirk hasn't played football in a while.
And you know what makes me feel less excited about the Falcons is they lost to Justin Fields at home. And that's it. End of story. Like, period.
But
blank.
in Falcons'
It's
defense,
the
it's
defense.
field goal to death.
It's
They
Justin
got field
Fields'
goal to
home.
death.
Yeah,
They
they
did get
got
fooled.
Iowa footballed.
Another
No,
win
Justin
for the Big
Field. Justin Fields is from Atlanta, so I don't even know. Like, that's a Justin Fields home game.
Don't tell Ohio State fans that.
Mm.
They'll
Yeah.
try to claim him.
We'll touch more on the Falcons Eagles on the Sunday night recap show. Let's move into some of these tier 2 games. I think those are the best games of the week. These are some of the games that I'm very excited about to watch. I'm curious to see. Let's go Bucs Lions real quick. Bucs Lions. Was the Bucs win a little fraudulent? Because I think the score looked a little too good, and that Commanders secondary is a little too bad. Connor,
This is a prime overreaction. You guys have all heard my Bucks takes in the preseason show and all this. I think this is a prime overreaction against a bad Washington team that, honestly, people were a little bit high on Washington coming into the year, which I didn't get that either. But this Bucks team, it's fool's gold. I'm telling you guys right now, there's a reason the Lions are still 7-point favorites. I don't even think it's enough. I am still completely out on this Bucks team. Yeah, Baker looked good. He was doing the first down signs, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were out there. Bucky Irving looked pretty good, rookie in the backfield. I'm not in. I'm not bought in. I think it's fool's gold. I think that's a week 1 overreaction. And a lot of these teams, I don't take anything from week 1, and the Bucks is going to be 100% one of them. That does not change the way I feel about them in the season. So I love the Lions here. I think there'll be a lot of points.
Okay. Dylan?
Ben, I want to talk to you for a second. I want to talk to you.
No.
Sunday night football, right?
Mhm.
Overtime, Lions get the ball, and they just run it down the Rams' throat. Like, no pretty business. This is big boy football. This is not, for outsider looking in, this is
Some
not
say
the
Michigan
Lions,
football.
Michigan football. This is not the Lions football that I'm used to watching. It's in the air. They just, David Montgomery, down your throat. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers posted a bottom 10 run defense grade last year. And if the Lions want to just, Karter?
Go ahead.
If the Lions just want to run it down their throat, I think that is a viable option for the entirety of this game. And Connor, speaking to your point about Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, I don't want to take anything away from Baker, but Mike Evans had some great catches. I mean, catches that not every wide receiver is going to make. I'm not going to bet anything this game, but I think people will see how bad the Bucs Commanders score was, how much of a blowout it was, and be like, how is this 7 points? It makes all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah. Ben?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, I think people are going to love the Bucs in this spot because they looked really good last week. And although the Lions won a home game against a playoff rematch game in primetime television, you take that win 10 out of 10 times if you're a Lions player, Lions coach, Lions fan. Like, I'm taking that win. But they didn't look very good, especially on offense. But there's some things that I'm like, the Lions defense looked way better, but the offense didn't look good. And I'm not going to push the panic button on a Lions offense that is exactly the same as in years past. That has been like, this is the same offense, if not better than last year's offense on paper. I don't think they've just magically been figured out or they're magically not good anymore. I think Dan Campbell is also one of those, we don't play in the preseason kind of guys. Like, we get our work in and practice and that's it. So I do think there is a little bit of some rust there. With that being said, I do think bottom 10 run defense you're talking about, Dylan, for Tampa Bay. I think the Lions are able to run the ball way better this week. Along with that, one of the starting cornerbacks for the Buccaneers suffered a season-ending injury. So I don't think the Bucs are going to have the ability to just take Amon-Ra St. Brown out of the game. And you know what? If you do, the Lions will give Jamison Williams the ball and he'll get 150 yards because, man, if the Lions are a Super Bowl contender, it's because the defense has gotten a little better. And it's because Jamison Williams offers just a completely new option, a new phase dimension that the Lions didn't have before.
Brother,
I like the Lions
You're
here.
preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir.
He's so good.
I was all in on the Jamison Williams hype in training camp and everything. I've been all in on him in the draft. I mean, it was pure ecstasy for my takes on Sunday night. I mean,
Yes.
It was because
Yes.
Me too. Cooper Kupp.
Look,
Me too.
I don't Cooper Kupp as well. I don't want to put this bad juju out there, but as BYU people, we kind of knew the Puka Nacua thing was a little worse than people realized.
Yes, they were like, did you hear them, Karter, on the telecast? They're like, oh, they thought that ankle injury was done. I was like, that ankle injury is never done. This is the same ankle injury from when he was at BYU.
Yeah,
like this was a thing then.
Yeah.
Look, I love him. I'm always pulling for Puka Nacua as a BYU guy. Seems like a great guy. He's a great player, but I think as a Rams fan, you're just gonna kind of have to expect that there's going to be times where you miss him for a few weeks, and that's just how it goes.
Yep. Briefly, I'll touch on the Lions Bucs real quick. You guys kind of nailed it on the head, too. You can't really take into the rushing stats from the Commanders last week because a lot of it was soft coverage. Jayden Daniels would bail on his first read and then scramble, and that's just not going to matter in this game against the Lions at all because Jared Goff is not going to run for 80-plus rushing yards like Jayden Daniels. So you take that out. I just think the Lions steamroll. I think this is time of possession. They dominate, like Dylan said. They play Michigan football in this game. As long as they don't get too cute, they're going to be fine. They're going to win this game. They're going to dominate this game. Yeah. This game's in Detroit, correct?
Yeah, and I think, last week we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown have, 2 catches against the Rams? I think he has 9 or 10 catches, 90 yards this week. This is a prime time, another 10-yard catch for St. Brown, another first down. Lions have 8 minutes on this possession.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be okay, we now have to account for Jamison Williams. We're game planning for Jamison Williams, and then it's like St. Brown, Laporta are opened up. It's not gonna be, I don't think it's gonna be as easy as maybe you guys think. Just this is a grudge match, a divisional rematch. I think they're gonna want some blood, but I do think the Lions are the Bucs are the kind of team that can give you a tough game, but they're not gonna win it. Against good teams, they're not gonna win it. So, I like the Lions by probably 10 points here.
But we haven't seen a lot.
I think it's hard fought.
But we haven't seen a lot change from these teams, and they played twice last season, and the Lions took care of business fairly comfortably both times. It was a little less comfortable in the playoff round, but why am I supposed to expect any different? I mean, the Lions won at
I don't think you
last
are.
year, so that's why I think they win this
You can't trust them.
Yeah, I think they win by 2 touchdowns in this game. But anyhow, let's move on to some other games real quick. Rams-Cardinals. This line is tricky as crap. This game's in Phoenix, in Glendale. Cardinals are now a 1.5-point favorite in this game. Are we getting injury news we don't know about? Is Matt Stafford not playing? What's going on?
Can I start?
I
start? Sorry, I just feel very strongly about this game. The Rams will roll. They will roll in this game. They will roll. And I partially, this is a rant. I am disgusted that people in the media, people told me for years when Matthew Stafford was in Detroit that guy was not a very good quarterback.
That third down throw he had to DeMarcus Robinson was so good.
Unreal. He is a magician. We're talking about, the entire offensive line died within a quarter. That was a concern that I talked about going into this game, but it became way worse. With that being said, with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, who's a guy who's a good route runner and gets open quickly, Stafford was getting the ball out, seeing his first read well, hitting his reads immediately. The Lions had, I think, the percentage of drop back snaps that resulted in pressures was 45%. So the Lions were getting pressure on him, and I think they only had 2 sacks, first quarter Levi Onwuzurike and then Aiden Hutchinson towards the end. Matt Stafford was getting the ball out. I think you're going to see a lot of people say, oh, this offensive line for the Rams is beat up. The Cardinals looked good last week. You're going to want the Cardinals. But I think Stafford and like Cooper Kupp and McVay, that trio right there, even Kyron Williams, like they're smart enough to be able to get Cooper Kupp the ball. Stafford's smart enough to get the ball out. McVay's smart enough to draw up plays that scheme around the offensive line. Kyron Williams, they couldn't really run in between the tackles, but they were finding other ways to get the run game going, whether it was Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, end arounds kind of stuff. I also love, it's like the Shaq meme, like, I was not familiar with your game. Rams defensive line, I was not familiar with your game. That Jared is a Verse. Good, yeah, Jared Verse, Fisk, Byron Young, right? Those guys are good. They've got a lot of guys up front that I like. I still don't love the secondary, but I think they're able to kind of handle up front. This Rams team, even injured, is a good team. I like the Rams to win this game outright, and that will probably be my parlay pick is Rams money line.
Wow.
I don't know how much I can disagree with that because Stafford was getting the ball out quick, and this Cardinals defense, I mean, I watched that entire Bills game. I've watched Cardinals football all season last year. It's nothing to go home. It's nothing to brag home about. The Cardinals defense isn't great. Why is this number 1.5, Connor?
That's what scares me because it feels like it shouldn't be this. Like this is a classic red flag.
Yeah, if you've bet on sports for a few years, you realize, okay, that's the biggest trap line this week. It feels like. Why in the world are the Rams a 1.5 point underdog? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I get it. Like the Puka injury is one thing, but then you've got McVay also. Like I trust McVay against the Cardinals team like this.
The Rams didn't skip a beat when Puka went out.
Right, exactly. Yes. So that doesn't really worry me that much. And everything on paper is screaming to me. I was so high on the Rams preseason. Dylan, you're with me. Everything is screaming to me. Take the Rams. Take the Rams as an underdog like this. I want to say yes, but it's literally the line movement is the only reason I'm like, oh my god.
That's it.
What
I know. That's what I was going to say. And also this Cardinals offense is dynamite. We should see a lot of points. There's a lot of games with a lot of points of potential in this game. Great week for fantasy players. Great week for fantasy players.
We can start talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. Production in a high-scoring game.
Xavier Legette had like 3-4 receptions. Marvin Harrison, where was he? Ohio State guy. He doesn't show up, Dylan. What's going on with him?
Just saying. I don't know. Justin Fields off, I don't know. I've always said Ohio State was wide receiver U, but Harrison's making that tough.
Dylan, why is this line Cardinals by 1.5?
To be honest with you guys, I don't know. Maybe they think that this Rams secondary is worse than the Bills and like Marvin Harrison will have a day. And the Bills did a pretty good job of keeping this Cardinals team under wraps, especially the receivers. We touched on it. The most impressive thing, obviously we had the Lions drive just straight down the field in that Sunday night game, but also the fact that Puka Nacua was out. And that didn't stop the Rams at all. I think it was like that next drive, they just go down the field and score the go-ahead touchdown. Like I don't know. I don't know what they're seeing that I'm not. It scares me. I probably won't bet on anything on this game. But to make the Cardinals the favorite, they have to be banking on the Cardinals to have some more success in the air. Or maybe it's because the game went into overtime. Rams might be tired. I mean, you saw the Lions just bully them. Maybe
they were done.
James Conner could do the same. I don't know.
That's why. Hey, why? What? Pick tails. Pick tails. It's the easiest thing in the book. How do you miss that?
Remember when we thought Blake Corum would get some carries? Dylan, remember we thought Blake Corum would be involved in the offense at all?
Yeah, we got a problem. We got a problem there because
what are we doing there?
That poor guy. That pour guy was like he's just standing on the sidelines. He looked so sad. I was like, come on.
Well, yeah, I think just running the ball traditionally just wasn't going to happen in this game, and it felt a lot like, I don't know. I mean, of course, this is going to sound stupid coming from a Lions fan, but it did not feel like I felt very confident that this Lions defense has improved since last season. They have improved a lot since last season. I just watched that game and was like, we're doing what we can do. Stafford, McVay, Kupp, that trio is just so good, and you can only do but so much. They're just so smart and good.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about some other games real quick. We'll go through a lot of these games a lot quicker now. 49ers are a 6.5 point favorite against the Minnesota Vikings. We saw the 49ers on Monday night. They dominated the New York Jets, even without Christian McCaffrey. It looks like he's not going to be playing in this game. Weird stuff. I didn't like how they knew McCaffrey wasn't playing on Friday night. I think you should have to announce that immediately. That's not okay for fantasy players, for gambling purposes.
They make their money off that.
Yeah, that's not okay. You have to announce that. So he knew he was playing Friday night. Niners by 6.5 in this game. I don't know where to go with this. This is a complete stay away from me because I don't think it was a fluke what we saw from Sam Darnold this week. I understand it was against the Giants. I don't think it was a fluke, though. He's got so many weapons to work with in Minnesota. When you're in a good situation and you're an average quarterback, you're going to look great. And that's just what it is. And I think Sam Darnold can play that Jared Goff-like role. I don't think the Vikings are as good as the Lions, but I think he can play that role where they're serviceable and they're going to be frisky all season long. They're never going to get humiliated.
This is a snooze fest spot for the 49ers. 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff in Minnesota against a team that nobody's high on after a big win against New York on Monday. I like the Vikings to cover. I'm not going to do it, but if I had to pick a side, I think San Francisco sleepwalks through the start of this game.
Kevin O'Connell doesn't get credit he deserves, man.
No.
He's a fantastic coach.
He's so good.
I think, man. What you said about Sam Darnold and the Vikings, we've kind of echoed that all years. Like Sam Darnold, we know he has the arm talent. He finally has the weapons. He has a decent offensive line. This 49ers defense they're going to see, though, is a lot different than the Giants one, the Giants defense that they saw. So it's, what are we going to get? I lean towards the Vikings. I think the 49ers offensively just looked amazing. They were humming all game against a good Jets defense. And then I don't know if I want to take away that the Jets offense might not be that good or the 49ers defense is just that bad. I went into the season saying the 49ers defense wasn't going to be as good as it has been.
Defense is good.
Yeah, I think I might have been wrong about that. But you know, week one, jury's still out. We'll see how this game goes. But I like the Vikings here to keep it close. I think Darnold's going to thrive under this system. And he showed us week one, early returns are showing, yes, that's correct.
Ben, thoughts on this game?
The Vikings are going to win. And I'm going to fall on the sword. I'm going to fall on the sword with a take. The Vikings are going to win because they have the best 49ers quarterback from last year. How's that?
My God.
What was that for a spicy
Connor,
take?
do you remember when we were on that train where we were like, you know what? Maybe they should start Darnold over Purdy.
Literally.
Weeks in a row.
No, I'm falling on this. It's like one of those things where it's just like you have a take, you have it for so long, it's wrong, but you just have to stick with it. I'm doing that here. My preseason prediction last year was that the 49ers preseason last year was that the 49ers would win the Super Bowl and that Sam Darnold would be the quarterback that did it. But I think the Vikings, like, honestly, frankly, I would not be shocked. I'm not saying I think it happens, but like, I would not be shocked if this Vikings team is the second place team in the NFC North.
Wow.
No, that's not surprising. I wouldn't be surprising.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially now with this Jordan Love injury.
I would be surprised.
I'm not saying that I think it will happen, but like, could you see the Vikings doing a frisky 9-8? The Bears kind of stink, and then the Packers, like, Jordan Love's out, and like they kind of figured him out a little bit, and he's not able to fully adjust because he's been hurt and the tape's out on him. Like, I still like Jordan Love, but like I could see it being kind of a down year for them. No weapons have emerged. Yeah, but like I like the Vikings in the spot. Kind of, well, fair. But as Connor said, the Vikings have kind of, or the 49ers might sleepwalk here. It felt like the Jets game was the game to get up for.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think they should have gotten up for it. I don't think it would matter. But that's my cynicism with the Jets. But anyway, I think the Vikings win here. In the very least, I think they keep it close. I think they cover that spread.
Let me pose this question before we move on to some of the last few games we want to talk about. If you placed any NFC North team in the NFC South, do they win that division? No problem.
Any?
Yes.
Any of them. All four teams
I don't
in the NFC
think I don't think
North.
the Bears.
I don't think the Bears do.
No. Bears no.
You don't think the Bears
No.
win the NFC South?
Nope.
No, and a Malik Willis-led Packers team doesn't either.
But
Yeah,
a Jordan
Malik
Love
Willis-led
Packers
Packers
team.
team
does.
does. last in the league.
Jordan Love Packers team would, yeah.
I think all four of those teams win the division.
Carter, did you watch Bears Titans? They could not
I
move
watched
the
a lot of
ball.
it.
They couldn't move the
I
ball.
watched a lot of it. I believe Caleb Williams will be a good quarterback.
Oh.
That's why I say that. So
Does that mean you fully abandoned? Are you
Falcons?
fully off the Kirk train? Yeah.
No, that means I am 10-7, 9-8 Falcons now, because you got to think the Bears would be playing the Panthers twice, the Saints twice, the Bucs twice, the Falcons twice. So, well, I guess you have to take out one of those teams, but you know how the exercise works. But
You think the Bears could win 10 or 11 games in that spot? Anyway, that doesn't. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but
it's pretty close between them and the Falcons. They both look so bad. Anyhow, layout. Let's keep moving on real quick. Speaking of the NFC South, Saints Cowboys minus 6.5. The only reason this is a tier 2 and not a whatever game, throw it away, whatever, is because both teams look so dominant in week 1, and one of these teams is not as dominant as they look, and the Saints are a prime candidate to fall off, Connor.
This is smells a little fraudulent to me, Carter. I mean, us as Panthers fans, as soon as he threw that first pick, as soon as Bryce Young threw that first pick, the wheels were coming off.
The season
was a slaughter. Over. Yeah, exactly. Well, not even that. It's just from the Saints' perspective, the slaughter was on. This is an overreaction. The Cowboys are a legitimate playoff team. They're a legitimate 10-11 win team. The Saints are not. The Saints are a third-place team in this division. So I think 6.5 is not enough. I think the Cowboys absolutely stomped the Saints this weekend, and I think people will finally come back to earth and be like, wait, we got excited over Derek Carr and Dennis Allen? It's like, oh, wait, they beat the Panthers. And like, as a Panthers fan, it hurts to say that. No, this is an overreaction. The Saints are not good.
The Panthers created zero pressure on that Saints pitiful offensive line.
Yes.
Think about what Micah Parsons is going to do to that offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
He played against the Browns offensive line last week. Think about what he's going to do to the Saints this week. Dylan?
I want to go ahead. I won't spend too much time on this game. I want to go ahead and give the Saints their one award they're probably going to get for the season. Actually, I guess technically 3. They have the top-rated offensive unit, passing unit, and pass block unit in the NFL via PFF after week 1. Saints, congratulations. There's your Super Bowl.
And the Chargers will have that next week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we talked about the Saints team. What I saw last week, I still don't think they're very good. I think the Panthers might just be that bad. Sad because I think we all took them to win the division. It's just really unfortunate there. And Dallas is legit. I think we saw that even if we don't think the Browns are that good. I mean, Dak in the regular season is amazing. Micah Parsons, that defense was swarming. It's you got to get excited for the Cowboys here. And the Saints, I think that game against the Panthers is more on the Panthers than it is the Saints. Sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
No, you're right.
Yeah, we can move on. I think we're all on the Cowboys here.
Yeah. Cowboys win 31-14.
Oh,
whatever.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. That's a blowout. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the tier 3 games. These kind of poopier games, really. Jags minus 3.5 against the Browns. This is a must-win game for both of these teams. The Jags got. I know it's funny to say must-win in week 2, but
It is.
for the momentum and confidence of each of these teams in the direction they're going, both of these teams desperately need this game. And the Browns, because of the Deshaun Watson stuff, they need to see him look better. The Jags choked away that game against the Miami Dolphins. They can't blow another game, especially against a Browns team that looks like they're going to start Jameis Winston by week 3. It looks like that's a must-win game. I'm very curious to watch that game. It's going to make a TV. It's going to make a screen in my house. I have to see this game. Anything on this game?
I don't.
Nothing.
I don't have to see this game.
I am going to say I think the Jags win this game because I don't think they're a train wreck like the Browns are. The Browns have a great defense. But I think
liking a lot of favorites this week.
At some point, though, I think the wheels just come off the tracks for the Browns under Deshaun Watson. You were talking about the worst quarterback situation in the league right now.
Yep.
$230 million. 200 when you include the contract investment.
And the actual quarterback play. He's terrible.
Yeah.
And quarterback play. $230 million guaranteed for an awful quarterback. I just can't. Don't overthink it. They just can't win with this guy. They just can't. They need Jameis Winston or Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Like they're a much better team with that. Anyway, the Jags win this game by 7-10, I think.
Ravens minus 9.5 against the Raiders this week. This is going to be everybody's survivor pick this week. Everyone's going to take the Ravens. I would be very wary of doing that. I think this Raiders pass rush is going to be able to get to Lamar a little bit. I'm just saying this is one of those weird games. There is a 0% chance we have a normal football score in this game. This is a 19-13 game or a 25-16 game. This is a weird game.
This This is a slugfest. You mentioned the Raiders pass rush. Lamar's not going to be seeking out hits like he was in Thursday night's opener. I think this is going to be, like I said, slow scoring, slugfest. I like the under here. It's a low total. It's 41.5. I don't care. I think this Ravens defense is going to make a statement, but I think this Raiders pass rush is going to get home as well. I think this is going to be, they're going to muck it up. They're going to muck it up.
Colts minus 3.5 against the. Oh, Dylan.
No, you're good.
Okay. Colts minus 3.5 against the Packers. Malik Willis is starting. Why are the Colts only a 3.5 point favorite in this game?
It's down to 3 now. It's moving the other way.
How has anybody watched? Has anybody watched Malik Willis play football? He is a bad.
He's bad, guys. He's trust me, he's bad, and that's all you need to know. He's so bad.
I love the Colts in the spot. I know it's square. I know it's going to be the public pick, and I know the line movement's probably going to go in a reverse way. I don't care. Give me the Colts in the spot. This is
the last
crazy.
thing you want to do. The last thing you want to do is bet on Richardson at Lambeau. I have to do it. Malik Willis is so bad. We've seen enough. We've seen enough. It's as simple as that.
We saw the success Saquon had on that Friday night game. Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson are going to be able to have that success on the ground in that game. Giants, Commanders. I know it's a division game, but yikes. Commanders are minus 1.5 in this game. If you're betting this game, call the hotline, please. Yep. Please call the hotline. This is crazy. I sneaky like the Giants in the spot. I'm going to put that out there. I think I'm not going to take anything, but if I had to pick something, I'm going to go with the Giants in the spot. I think the Giants defensive line is going to get to Jaden Daniels, and I'm very worried about Jaden Daniels' health all season. The way he runs, the way he takes hits, we saw it against the Buccaneers. I'm worried about him against this Giants defensive line. Let's keep moving on. Steelers minus 3 against the Broncos. Another yuck game. I wish we would have gotten Russell Wilson revenge game, but we're not getting that. Justin Fields is going to be playing in this game. Bo Nix against the Steelers defense. We saw what happened to Kirk Cousins last week. Dylan, I know you're. I think we might need to say a prayer for Bo Nix going against the Steelers defense.
Yeah, it's going to be really bad. And Bo Nix was awful as it was against the Seahawks. Now I think the Seahawks defense, we've seen that it's going to take a step up. But anyway, nap game of the week, CarterKast nap game of the week. I'll get the graphic out. The graphic did like 1,000 impressions on X, so I will get the nap game of the week graphic out. It is this one, Steelers Broncos snooze fest.
If this was an afternoon game, I would say it's Seahawks Patriots. But it's a 1 p.m. game, so we have 10 1 p.m. games this week. So it's just
can't sleep during it.
Yeah, it's just going to get...
There's witching hour during it. Yeah,
it's
you
just
can't
going to
sleep.
get slid under the rug. We're going to see... Hey, by the way, Kenneth Walker and Jackson Smith-Njigba scored touchdowns. Seahawks won 17-3. They're a 3.5 point favorite in this game.
Take it.
Look, you're taking the Seahawks.
Yes.
100%. The Patriots are horrible.
Yeah. I like too many favorites this week, guys.
I don't care. I won't overreact to the Bengals game in week 1. I think the Patriots are still one of the worst teams in the league, and I think the Seahawks are better than what they showed last week. That game against the Broncos wasn't as close as it finished. I
will overreact.
I like
overreact to Seattle, though. I had questions about if this defense was really going to take a step up with Mike McDonald. I understand it's one game. It was against the Broncos, but they were making tackles in open space. I was impressed with what I saw from the Seahawks defense.
All right, the last game we're going to talk about.
Do we have
Logic made a song about Panthers fans. This is rough, dude. We might need to call it.
It's like, what song?
Chargers Panthers. Talks about. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Chargers Panthers. Chargers are 6.5 point favorites in this game. The line opened at 4. Derek Brown gets announced he's out for the season. Panthers best player. It moved 2.5 points. Look, as Panthers fans, we know this, Connor. I don't know how in your right mind you could ever bet the Panthers in this game, but the only saving grace in this spot is everybody and their mother and their grandma and their dad and their uncle and their friends and their cousin are all going to be on the Chargers in this game. So that's when it's time to zag, and the Panthers are going to win for no reason. But there's no way you can have confidence in anything in this Panthers team, especially against a disciplined Jim Harbaugh coach team.
I think I have a problem because I want to take the Panthers in this spot. I want to take the Panthers in this spot.
Connor, let's do it.
I think we have to. As horrible as they looked last week, I think for whatever reason, I think they look okay this weekend.
J.K. Dobbins might have 160 rushing yards against us.
Maybe.
And then Gus Edwards will have 120.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the run defense is my biggest concern. All I care about in this game, I don't care if the Panthers win or not. Just Bryce, please look good. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. Please look good. And Connor, let's ride Panthers. If it gets to 7, we ride the Panthers.
See, when it makes the least sense, that's when you got to hop on.
Yep, let's
this
zag.
weekend makes the least sense.
Yeah, we're going to zag. That's what I love to hear. We need some dogs on our card, too. Anyhow, Real quick, parlay picks, and then we'll get out of here, Dylan.
I'm going Homer. I get it. Titans plus 4.5. We touched on it. All you need to do is tell Will Levis, go down. Don't try to extend plays, and they win that game. I think this is a great buy low opportunity on the Titans.
Ben.
I'm going to go with the Rams money line. Vegas is just trying to play tricks with your head. Don't overthink it. It doesn't matter that the offensive line's hurt. Stafford, McVay, and Cooper Kupp all exist, and that Rams defensive line's really good.
Connor.
I won't go over the same game. I was going to go Jets Titans under 42, but Dylan already took the Titans.
I love that
I have
too,
a backup pick in mind. Raiders Ravens under 41.5. I think this is just going to be a gross game both ways. No, it's a low total. I don't care. There's also 7 totals under 42 this week. So,
I love it.
Talk about lack of quarterback, lack of offense play. But yeah, Raiders Ravens under 41.5.
Okay, I'll let you guys decide my pick here. I'm either going Colts -3 or we're going Bears Texans over. I love both of them equally.
Colts. Bears
Colts,
won't. Bears won't. Yeah.
That's fine.
I think Colts as well. I've seen Malik Willis enough.
Don't overthink it. We're going Colts there. I love it. That's the parlay this week. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube at KarterKast on everything on social medias. All of our personal Twitters, everything in the episode description below. Go follow us on there as well. Like, subscribe. We're over 1,000, Dylan. We're over 1,000 subscribers. We're going up. We're going up to the moon. To the moon, baby. I love it. Use code KarterKast to SeatGeek for $20 off your first purchase. Don't forget, once again, I'm going to say it one more time. Subscribe. You're like, oh, am I subscribed? Well, I listen to the show all the time. But oh wait, yeah, go double check. You're gonna be like, oh, I'm not subscribed. Click that button. Really, really helps us out.
Maybe subscribe on your mom's account too. Maybe your second account.
Burners.
Maybe
That wouldn't
accounts,
hurt.
just in case.
Yeah, just keep reviewing. Yeah, just make burners. Make like 2,500 YouTube accounts and then subscribe. Anyhow, that's it from us. We will see y'all on Sunday night. We'll see y'all then. Bye.